Tonight, though, let's start in Egypt. Annual urban consumer price inflation in the North African state has soared to its highest level in more than 3 decades, hitting 30.2% in February. Now, this is the fourth consecutive jump since the central bank abandoned its currency peg to the US dollar in early November. Since then, the Egyptian pound has depreciated by roughly half. Economists say rising inflation will obviously erode spending power, choke off economic growth, and it might prompt further interest rate hikes. Benchmark rates in the North African state are already high at 15.75%. Egypt's central bank, however, has held it at that level since November's float. But some analysts predict some hikes are in the offing. The central bank's rate-setting committee meets next on the 30th of March. Let's get the latest details on exactly how the market and consumers and businesses are coping with this high inflation. Adel Mahrouhi joins me now live from Cairo with the latest on these numbers. Adel, these numbers, of course, are pretty high, but to some extent they were expected given November's floating of the Egyptian pound. What sort of reactions are you getting to today's data from businesses and from consumers?
Well, it is quite a big reaction. And as you said, this is the highest inflation rate in over 3 decades. Since exactly 1986, Egypt has never seen something that big in terms of inflation rates. Now, experts here are not as shocked, and the main reason is why basically since Egypt has took this courageous decision to float the Egyptian pound in November last year, the inflation rates went up as follows. By the end of November, it was 19.4%. It jumped to 25.9% in December. In January, 30.9%, and now the 33.1% for February. If you take a notice at the number, Rama, basically there was a 5% increase in inflation rates from December to January. Now, the pace of the increase has decreased in February to become just 2.6%. Now, yes, the numbers are still going up, but many experts here are quite comfortable. They think that with the pace going down, it means that the inflation rate could settle by the second quarter.
Indeed. Let's focus on that just a moment. Some economists, as you mentioned, do expect inflation to fall from the second half of the year. But between now and then, do they expect the Central Bank of Egypt to have to raise rates, perhaps in the second or the third quarter of the year?
Well, you know, the central bank is very conservative in that regard here in Egypt. There are expectations, of course, that this would be managed, but at the same time, any increase in the rates would have a serious impact on the market itself. So what will happen, it's still not clear, especially that the Egyptian exchange rates, the forex market here is not yet stable. We've seen the dollar versus the Egyptian pound go way down. The Egyptian earned a little bit of its strength in the past few weeks, with the dollar dropping about £3, moving from 19 to 16 pounds, even a little bit less in the 15s for pounds for $1. Now, the Egyptian pound has been weakening once again in the past, just this week, and the dollar is quickly catching up in what many experts here are believing that the coming rise could exceed the 19 pounds for the dollar that we've seen in the last 2 months, and it could jump to the 20. So all of these are quite troublesome indications. The instability definitely would have an impact on delaying at least the decision for central bank until they see sort of stabilization in the forex market, and then a decision could be clearer, at least from most analysts' perspective.
Indeed, and with the Americans about to raise rates, that of course complicates the picture quite a bit. But let's focus on taxes though. After a fairly long set of delays, value-added tax was finally implemented last year. How is it working out so far?
Well, it is quite confusing. The implications are not clear yet. Just yesterday, the Egyptian finance minister Amr has announced that announced the bylaws for the government that will regulate the VAT taxes throughout the government organizations and institutions. Just yesterday, Rama, and that means that there are still further calculations to be done. We are in a transitional phase. They are restructuring the taxes system. They introduced the VAT. They will decrease some of the previous regular taxes that have been already implemented. Now, at this transitional stage, some companies and some agencies have been paying both taxes together. So that still is going to be settled according to the bylaws. 79 articles, Rama, in the new bylaws that regulates how the VAT or the VAT will be calculated, how people will file for it, businesses and companies will file for that VAT. So until this whole turbulence also settles, it is still not clear what influence did it have, what are the earnings that the VAT has added. There were expectations, but did it actually meet these expectations? Well, maybe in the coming months or two. We are approaching June, which ends the fiscal year here in Egypt, and it should be clearer by then.
Indeed. We'll leave it there for the time being. Thank you for the update. That's Adel Makroui, of course, live in Cairo. Now,